Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, June 13, Friday the 13th. Time in Texas about 4 p.m. I'd like to say thank you for subscribing and sharing and for hitting the like button. That helps my channel to grow. And I'd like to say if you're looking for a small full gospel church in Angleton, Texas, a suggestion would be the Calvary Church, located on the street behind CVS. And some of the sources I'll use today: God in the Bible Patriot subscriber, Judge Napolitano recent interview with Larry Johnson and Ray McGovern, the DURAN Real Raw News, Hal Turner, USA Today, Bloomberg, AP, Prepper News, Danny Hoppeg's recent interview of Scott Ritter. Some of the things we'll cover. President Trump wants to continue negotiations with Iran. And a sheriff in Florida: if you spit, first you're going to the hospital, then to jail. And Karen and her burner phone. So let's get started. So we have a sheriff in Florida. We know the upcoming this weekend is 1,500 to 1,800 riots scheduled by multiple anti-U.S. government and anti-Constitution and anti-American people commie groups. And it's believed the cost for the 1,500 to 1,800 riots will be in the billions of dollars. But those are being scheduled on Saturday, June 14, coincident with the parade in Washington, D.C. to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army and President Trump's 79th birthday. And we understand, under cover of the parade, we are going to have in Washington, D.C., thousands of troops and thousands of pieces of heavy equipment, all primed in case there is heavy contact in Washington, D.C. So we have, we know also Governor Abbott of the state of Texas has now already deployed 5,000 Texas National Guard to various cities, including Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, plus. And in Brevard County, Florida, we have a sheriff, Wayne Ivey, who's giving warning. And he's saying that, you know, any adverse actions by these rioters, you're going to jail. If you try to assault police officers or burn vehicles or use explosives, as we've been seeing in other cities. And the sheriff said, now, if you spit, first you're going to the hospital, then to jail. Way to go, Sheriff Wayne Ivey. And we have this from Real Raw News. Okay, Tuesday, President Trump, Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., fired all 17 members of a vaccine advisory board that would advise the U.S. government on vaccines, when to give them, and what type was approved. And RFK Jr. fired all 17 members. And now it's coming out that 5 out of the 17 who were fired, 5 of them have been arrested. And this has to do with their giving out false information in 2020 and 2021 regarding the COVID and covering up and destroying documents documenting the increase in heart attacks and other heart cardiac issues associated with the COVID vaccines, as well as a damage to the immune system and the sudden onset in many people of sudden epilepsy. So that's going on. The U.S. military has arrested 3 men and 2 women, former vaccine advisory members. Some and all of them had been associated with the CDC for 8 years or more. So that's going on. And we have this. So we're seeing this drama play out between Israel and Iran. And we know that last night Israel hit Iran, and then about 8 o'clock last night, and then about 1 in the morning, Iran hit Israel. The attacks back and forth are continuing today, and Iran has hit several locations in Tel Aviv. So that happened today. I believe about 5 hits are going on, and that Israel, between last night and today, has hit Natanz. Now, they've hit the Natanz nuclear site in Iran last night and again today. The IAEA has confirmed there are radiation leaks coming from the Natanz nuclear site. And it's coming out that Israel has also hit Esfahan and Fodor nuclear sites. And also the Houthis. So we have in this area, we have the Houthis located in Yemen. So we have Saudi Arabia, Yemen. The Houthis, who are a proxy for Iran, prepped to hit Israel also. The U.S. has sent another destroyer to the Middle East, and they have a second one on standby. And we have this, that the U.S., France, and the U.K. have been actively using planes to defend Israel from drone and missile strikes by Iran to hit Israel. Now, from Prepper News, puts this out about 1 hour ago. So this afternoon, Tel Aviv was hit. And now Israel plans to hit oil and gas locations inside Iran. We already have the Dow stock market last night was down almost 900 points. Today, about 500. We have today an increase in the cost of oil per barrel. It's going to $70 to $80 per barrel. And it's believed by speculators in the oil field that if these attacks continue, if Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz, through which flows about 25% of global oil, that we could see per barrel of oil a price of $130, and at the pump $10 per gallon if this continues. And Prepper News says Israel has hit 3 nuke sites inside Iran. That would be Fodor, Natanz, and Isfahan. And it's hit Natanz a second time today, from which the IAEA has verified there is a radiation leak, although the IAEA is not putting out information regarding how much radiation is leaking. Now, it appears that Iran, and some sources for this are DURAN, and I believe Scott Ritter also put this out, that apparently the intel group inside Iran is very disorganized. Now, it's coming out that Mossad, the intel arm of Israel, puts assets in place, and they could be there 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. So individuals in Iran would look around and not recognize they had stranger, they wouldn't see any strangers. They would only see people they were used to seeing. However, Israel, Mossad had saboteurs inside Iran. And it's coming out. Israel also hid missiles inside containers, much like the Club K attack we saw Ukraine use on Russia. And that Israel had saboteurs inside Iran who tracked the location of the leaders, government leaders, and military leaders. And they were giving real-time intel to Israel. Example, one of these government or military leaders went home, and Israel would know what room they were in, and they were hit with the drones. So that's going on. And we have this. We also have from multiple sources that this appears to be an organized decapitation strike on Iran to bring about regime change. And it appears that Israel's plan is to take out all the leaders. It's coming out that they've already taken out the top tier leaders of Iran's military. And it's coming out that President Trump has made a public statement that, yes, he did know when Israel was going to hit Iran. And of course, President Trump and the U.S. military would have to know when that strike was going to occur. We have military assets in the Middle East, and we would need to know on a global basis if one country is going to strike another. So Israel's plan is to take down all leadership inside Iran, government and military, and to bring about a regime change. And now we have this. Judge Napolitano interviewed Larry Johnson, formerly with the CIA, Ray McGovern, also former Intel. Ray believes Benjamin Netanyahu would use nukes on Iran so that he could stay in power. And Ray reports that Israel currently has 200 nuclear bombs. Ray also says Iran may go Sunday to the meeting in Oman to continue negotiations with the U.S. So Ray McGovern is the only source I have who believes Iran may continue to pursue the negotiation Sunday. President Trump has made a public statement that he welcomes Iran to come to Oman Sunday to continue the negotiations. Larry Johnson says Iran has been hit 2 times in the last 24 hours, and Larry doesn't believe that Iran will go to Oman. So we'll see what happens Sunday. Denny Hoppeck interviewed Scott Ritter today, who states Israel's hit on Iran is a decapitation strike. Israel's plan is to take down the leaders of Iran and bring about a regime change. So that's going on. And he states that Israel has already taken out 70% of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. on the ground and underground by using bunker busters. And as I said, the IAEA is registering a radiation leak already from Natanz. So that's going on. And we have this. Iran is begun their retaliation last night, and they're continuing today. Israel stated they plan to bomb Iran for the next 2 weeks. So that's going on. And I've put out the how Mossad had secret drone bases also set up inside Iran, and that goes along with a lapse or a lack of Iran's intel, because Israel went inside Iran and set up secret drone bases, and this is what they use, the drones, to target and take out Iran's air defense as well as leaders of Iran's government and military. And we can confirm a Professor Maradi in Iran, who appears on, I believe he's on several YouTube shows, that he is safe in Iran. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah. So Iran has appealed or made a statement to the UN today that Israel's hit on Iran sees as a declaration of war. And we have this. Today, June 13, Israel has begun a new series of hits on Iran. And it's believed that Israel has hit an Iranian military base, Tabriz, and made their second hit on Natanz today. And we have this. Israel has canceled synagogue services over the weekend, and the AP reports that the U.S. military is sending 2 more destroyers to the Middle East. One is the USS Thomas Hudner to the Eastern Mediterranean Sea. A second destroyer is on standby. President Trump today had a security meeting, and President Trump made this public statement that many of the hardliners in Iran are now dead. So that's going on. And we have this from Hal Turner that came out about noon today. Israel hits Iran again. The IAEA verifies radiation leaks at Natanz. And it's believed the worst case scenario for this radiation leak is that it could go to a meltdown. So that's going on. And now what do we have going on in California? We know that we've been seeing these out of control riots in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles has a mayor, Karen Bass, that I brought out as commie. She visited Fidel Castro for decades, as verified by the FBI. So the commie mayor, Karen Bass, who is a real Karen to her core, of Los Angeles, set up a phone call recently with California Secretary of State Shirley Weber and the Lieutenant Governor of California, Canalejas, and wanted to pursue contacting the UN for the UN to send in the blue helmets to get rid of all the feds, the ICE and Border Patrol and so on, plus the U.S. military out of Los Angeles and restore peace in Los Angeles. And the lieutenant governor was the only member of this phone conversation who appeared to be in touch with the real world. And she said to Karen Bass, well, we don't have any contacts with the UN. Who would we get? Karen Bass said, we'll get Barack Obama. We'll get him to contact the UN, and the UN to send in, like 5,000 to 10,000 of those blue helmets, and tell ICE and the other federal agencies to get out of California, and to tell the U.S. military also to get out of Los Angeles. So then the lieutenant governor said, you know what? I think if we got the UN blue helmets to come in here and try something like that, that President Trump would bring in the full force of the federal government and the U.S. military and take over not just Los Angeles, but all of California. And it's coming out that Karen Bass thought that she was safe and secure by using a burner phone. Apparently, Karen doesn't realize just how deeply and broadly goes cyber warfare, particularly when it's handled by the U.S. Marines. And we're hearing now that Karen Bass has evac'd from Los Angeles. Apparently, the seat in Los Angeles is a little too hot for her to sit in. Likewise, we're hearing that Benjamin Netanyahu has also evac'd from Israel to a Greek island. And so it goes. It's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.